So we're going to start the webinar now. I'm going to hand over to Shula and put myself on mute. There will be some questions at the end.
Thank you very much, Claire. Good morning, everybody. First of all, we will introduce ourselves to you. So my name is Shula Farney. I am one of the membership advisors here at ParentKind. I've been with ParentKind for 4 years now, and before that I was a chair myself. I'm joined today by Donna Hill, who's also going to be presenting. I'll let Donna introduce herself in a moment. And our newest member of the membership services team that you can also see on screen is Caroline Hayward, and Caroline is joining us for her first webinar today. She will be helping with the Q&As at the end of the session. Donna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Donna. So if you've ever phoned ParentKind, you may have got through to me first on the phone. I've been with ParentKind nearly 6 years. So we're quite experienced in what we know, but we will try and help you today to kickstart your PTA. Thank you.
Okay, so how the webinar will work. Today, we will be giving you a short presentation. This is based predominantly on some information sheets that we do have, and those information sheets will be included in an email for you later on. We also will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. At the bottom of your screens, you should see a Q&A button. If you have any questions that you would like to submit, if you can pop them into that box, Caroline will be keeping an eye on that box and making a note of those questions for us to answer at the end of the session. Also, just to let you know, the webinar is being recorded and will be available for you to view again on the website at any time, or if any of your other committee members wish to do that as well. So, kickstarting your PTA. As restrictions have eased over the past few months, many associations are starting to plan events for the current school year. As well as holding events, you may also need to review your communications, your administration, and to look at different ways to raise funds. Some of the things you do need to check before planning your events and activities. You should always check the current government guidelines. Whilst restrictions have been eased quite considerably, obviously there could be other variants and we don't know whether these restrictions will change in the future. So please make sure you check the gov.uk website. If you're in any doubt of the guidelines, always contact your local authority for guidance. They will be able to interpret that government information for you. You should also ensure that you always get the school's permission before organising any meeting, activity or event that you plan to do on school's premises. We do know from speaking to members there is still some schools that are reluctant to allow people to hold events, and therefore you must speak to the school before making any plans. So communication.
Shula, sorry, just to interrupt. We've had a couple of messages up to say people can't hear. I can definitely hear at my end. Can I just confirm, Caroline and Donna, can you hear everything?
We can.
Okay, so potentially it's an issue with the laptop at the user's end rather than ours, because it is the Zoom thing, it is all working properly. Sorry, Shula, I will go away again.
That's okay. I've just checked my volume controls as well. They are on 100%. So as I did mention earlier, the webinar is recorded. So if any of you are having any sound issues from your own personal devices, you will be able to listen to this again later on the website once it's been put onto the webinar section. So communication. Communication is key for your PTA. First of all, use your social media platforms to let your members know that your association are back up and running and have any details of any meetings or events that you have planned. Your social media platforms can include Facebook pages, for example. There are some PTAs that do use Twitter and Instagram, and others that have WhatsApp groups as well. Set up welcome meetings for new parents. Any new parent that has joined the school, particularly either last year or this year during COVID, will find it a little bit more difficult to get to know people. Setting up just a simple coffee morning is a great way for new parents to come find out what your PTA is doing and also to meet other parents within the school. Make sure that the school website is updated if you have a section about your PTA. If you don't have a section about your PTA on the school website, have a chat with whoever manages the school website. It would be really useful for your parents to find one central place that they can find information, who your committee is, how to contact the PTA, what events are coming up, etc. Newsletters. You can send out a PTA newsletter or ask to be included in the school one. You need to make sure that you do check your GDPR on this. If you're sending out a PTA newsletter in the book bags, for example, on paper, the regulations don't apply, and that's absolutely fine. If you want to be included in a school newsletter, then the school does have to have consent from parents to spread the word about the PTA. Word of mouth. Nothing beats speaking to parents directly in the playground, obviously if your school is allowing parents into the playground at present. Make sure that you update any PTA notice boards. If PTAs haven't been allowed in the school, then some of that information possibly is going to be from pre-COVID and from the very first lockdown. Also, make sure that you raise your PTA awareness by attending school events and activities. If your PTA hasn't done an awful lot during the lockdown period, then this is a great way to make sure that your members and your parents know that you are still there and that you are looking to continue raising funds. The activities that you can attend would be things like, if the school are having parents' evening in the autumn term, have a refreshment stand, or even just a table with some leaflets and information and maybe some pictures of things that the PTA have done in the past. You can also attend things such as open mornings. Many schools have these throughout the autumn term to encourage new parents for children joining next year, September. And also, particularly in primary schools, but nativity plays, carol concerts, etc., that will be done towards Christmas time. I'm going to hand over to Donna. She's going to do the next couple of slides with you. And the next one she'll be doing is on administration tasks.
Okay, so update your parent kind contact details. Do you have a key contact? Are they the correct person? And do we have all of their details? The key contact is the person who is our first point of call. They can add and remove other people, giving them access to the website, and we depend on them to do the housekeeping around this. Update your Charity Commission contact details and trustees. You have 10 months after the end of your financial year to get your return to the Charity Commission. They will contact you about this, and you just need to make sure that you've given them the correct contact details. Are they contacting the school instead of your PTA? On that point, it's a good idea to create, if you haven't already, a generic email for your PTA. If you do create one, then please also let Parent Kind know what it is. Make sure your committee realise they're all trustees and that the Charity Commission need to have their details. If you're a committee member, you're also a trustee. Register as a charity if your income is over 5,000. So do you need to register? It's a legal requirement to register with the Charity Commission if you raise over £5,000 a year, and that's gross, not profit. All Northern Ireland PTAs need to register regardless of the size or the income level. We have a step-by-step guide on our website to help you with the registration. Register for gift aid. All PTAs can register for gift aid if you're a registered charity or not. All PTAs are charities, and you can get charitable recognition from HMRC. Gift aid is essentially free money, so why wouldn't you claim it? We've also got a webinar on gift aid. Check your constitution. Have you got one? Can you find it? Have all your committee got a copy? These are your rules and regulations for your association, so check it's still fit for purpose. If you are a registered charity but can't find your constitution, then contact the Charity Commission and they should have a copy and they'll email it to you. All PTAs should have a governing document as best practice. Parent Kind have developed 2 model constitutions, one for England and Wales and one for our Northern Ireland members. Create model policies. Check your committee are happy with the policies that you've got in place, or if you need to adopt any. These can be adopted by your committee at a committee meeting. You do not need to hold an AGM for these. It runs alongside your constitution to add more detail. We've got lots of template policies on the website for you. Check licenses. Licenses from your local authority and film licenses will need renewing annually. Make sure that they're in place for your upcoming events. And GDPR, have a tidy up. Make sure passwords are updated and that you're not holding on to any information that you no longer need. Okay. So registering non-event fundraising. So if you can't get back into schools, And if you're looking for things to do, these are really good things to sign up to. So register with Easy Fundraising and add a donation button. You may benefit from one committee member to take this on, as parents and supporters need frequent reminders to go through Easy Fundraising and making online purchases. Easy Fundraising have a host of templates to promote to parents and supporters, reminding them to use it. It can bring in a really good regular income, especially if parents use it for those big purchases, especially if they're going to start booking up for holidays. See if you can get them to go through Easy Fundraising. That's a big win. They're also offering a one-to-one support call and a donation button. So just contact them separately and they can add that donation button to your Easy Fundraising. Sign up to your school lottery. You will need to obtain a small society lottery licence. You promote the lottery to your supporters and your school lottery does the rest. Easy peasy. Hold a sponsored event. A sponsored skip, bounce, walk, read, or my favourite, silence. And you can, of course, send out gift aid declaration forms along with your sponsor form. So if you haven't registered with HMRC for gift aid, this is a good reason why you need to. Recycling campaign. Check out our supplies directory. You'll find companies that recycle such things as clothes and printer ink cartridges. Arty fundraisers, they're great Christmas ideas. Again, check out our supplies directory, or you can create your own craft days. Grants and trust funding opportunities, access to funds online for our members. Lots of PTAs made up their shortfall by applying for grants in the last year or so. We have a webinar on grant opportunities, and we also provide 8 weeks of free access to funds online. When you're ready to start looking, send an email to info@parentkind.org.uk with your name and membership number, and we'll provide your PTA with 2 months of free access. Ask for donations. Donations to your PTA by cash, cheque or backed means that you won't be paying for any card payment or platform fees. So your PTA get all of the money plus it's a donation. So if it comes from a UK taxpayer, again, you can claim gift aid, and that's a win-win.
Thank you very much, Donna. Going on then to quick and easy fundraising. These are just a few quick and easy ideas for you. If you're not ready to do big events yet, then these are quite simple for you to organise. Coin challenges. The 5p coin challenge, and we do have posters for that within our resources section, is a really easy idea. It works particularly well for primary schools. You just need to provide each class with a fizzy pop bottle that's been washed out and dried, have a label on it, and ask the children to bring in 5p's to fill it. You can do it just as a money raising exercise, or you could offer a prize either for all children, maybe a film afternoon in the hall with some popcorn and juice, or you could do one prize for the class that raises the most money. Themed days. These will include particularly dress up days or crazy hair days. You can do a school dress up day asking for £1 for each child, or even a break the rules day where children are allowed to come in multicoloured socks or a different jumper. These obviously need to be agreed with by the school, but are really easy, quick money makers. They also suit any school environment. Competitions. Again, competitions are fairly easy to organise, and there are resources for posters within our PTA resources section of the website. Competitions could include cake making. Bake Off is, I think, back on the TV for those that watch it, so quite a good one for this particular time of year. But you could also do things such as Lego building, colouring competitions for the very small children, and that's all and easy for them to do. Virtual balloon races. Lots of PTAs turn to these during the lockdown periods. We do have one listed in our supply directory that you might be interested to use. And that again is an easy way for your PTA to make money. You just need to heavily promote it to ensure you're selling as many balloons as possible to raise as many funds as possible. Your standard sales, things like ice lollies, tuck shops, book sales, plant sales, these are all fairly easy to organise. Particularly if you're looking for books or plants, you can ask parents to donate old books, or if you've particularly got some green-fingered parents within the school that can grow some plants for you to sell, there's going to be no outlay at all for you, and everything you make will be pure profit. If you are ready or want to hold a larger event that requires slightly less organisation and helpers than some of the big things like a Christmas fair, for example, consider things such as a film night, second-hand uniform sale or a quiz night. Which leads me on to remind everybody that we've recently launched our big PTA quiz night. It is on the website. For those of you that may have participated last year, we provided everybody with a quiz pack. Last year had 10 rounds. This year's quiz has 30 rounds. It's available for you to download. There are the questions and answer sheets, certificate for the winner, and you can hold that quiz night still as a virtual event, or if obviously you want to do it as a physical event, you can do that. But we've taken the stress out of trying to organise the quiz night for you. Make sure you check that out on the website, but we will also include a link for that on the email that will be coming out to you after the webinar. Other ideas that you could consider: a gift amnesty. Lots of parents have done clearing out over the past year or so. Ask them if they have any new or unwanted gifts, toys or books. All of these could either be used for sales or could be used as prizes. Particularly if you have small donations, you can always make up large hampers as well to be used within raffles. Coffee mornings, as I mentioned previously, these are a great opportunity for parents just to get to know each other again. Even if they don't fully get involved within the committee, you can quite often gain people that will come along and just help out at your events for 1 or 2 hours. Kickstart your PTA Christmas. We've also recently written an information sheet on kickstarting your PTA Christmas. This has lots and lots of Christmas activity and event ideas for you. Both of our Kickstart information sheets are within the Managing Your PTA section of the Advice Hub. They will both also be included on the email that's going out to you. Ask other members on our PTA Hangout Facebook page. If you haven't joined our PTA Hangout Facebook page, please do so. It's a great opportunity for you to be able to put questions to other members. Whilst we can give you lots of tips and guidance and advice, it's sometimes really useful to be able to connect with another PTA that's done an event similar to the one that you want to do. You can ask for their guidance and their support and ask what the key parts of the event were and how it panned out for them. Also, check out our new member benefit, BOP. We have recently launched BOP. It was launched towards the end of the summer holidays, and there will be more Solus emails that are going out within the next couple of weeks for you, along with the promotion that BOP are running. So the first 100 Parent Kind members that register for BOP will receive £25 from BOP when they use BOP, and they will also have the opportunity to go into a prize draw where 10 PTAs will win £250 from BOP when they can show and demonstrate how they've been using that within their events and activities. BOP is essentially a bank-to-bank transfer platform. It's a series of QR codes that you can create, and you can therefore ask parents to pay for things via a QR code via their phone rather than them having to handle cash. It's a great way, particularly if you are doing on-the-door events, for example, or if you are planning a Christmas fair. If you've got stalls, you can have a QR code for those stalls and people can just pay you directly from their phone, and it goes directly to your PTA bank account. The information on BOP is in the member benefit area of the website under partner offers. Forward planning. If you can't hold an event now, this may be because the school have said that they still don't want to have the PTA or parents within the school, or if as a committee you're still slightly reluctant to hold an event at the moment. You can consider planning your events for next year. Larger events such as your summer fair or even a spring pamper evening do take time and organisation to put on. You could consider putting together some subcommittees for these larger events. Each subcommittee should be headed up by a committee member, and we do have information sheets both on summer fairs and spring pamper evenings. Have an open PTA meeting as well to brainstorm new ideas with the committee, along with new parents and teachers. Events that members have actually put an idea forward for, they are more likely to attend, and those events should therefore be well attended for you. Okay, moving on to our Q&A session. We have a couple of questions that were sent in previously. So before I hand over to Donna and Caroline, I will just cover off those 2 questions that were sent in for us. One of the questions we had was from a member that is on the committee for a special needs school for autistic children. 95% of those children attend the school by coming in via taxi or buses, and therefore the presence of parents within the playground is very, very low. And they wanted to know how to start to increase interest from parents and members. I think particularly with a school where you don't have that parent presence in the school, and this can also apply as well for secondary schools, because parents do tend to just drop children and go, is to see if you can get a little more school involvement. You may find that your committee is made up with a larger number of staff than perhaps maybe within a primary school. You may need to consider carrying on with virtual events to help the fact that you haven't got parents there. The virtual events are still a great opportunity to be able to get parents involved, but they can do it from the comfort of their own home without having to worry about arranging childcare. And obviously, if their child does have any problems or issues at the time, they're at home to be able to deal with that for them. Make sure that you have a really good social media presence and that you really are highlighting to your parents about your PTA, why you have a PTA, and how that has benefited the children in the school previously. If parents know that by getting involved in the PTA, you are raising X amount of pounds each year, and out of those funds you have been able to provide a sensory garden, some resources, some books, etc. for the children, parents will probably be more willing to step forward and get involved. Also cut the jobs down to the minimum as well. For example, if you say to someone, can you help at a Christmas fair? Somebody's going to be thinking, I need to be able to give up an entire day for this. If you break your jobs down into, can you man a stall for an hour? Could you bake some cakes from home and bring them in for us? Could you fold raffle tickets? They're much smaller jobs and much more manageable for someone to be able to complete those within their daily tasks. We would also suggest that you have a look at our National PTA Week information. This will be included in our upcoming PTA Expert magazine, which will be sent out usually towards the end of September, beginning of October. There is an article on there for one of the winners of our National PTA Week, which was a special needs school. The other question that we had through was from a secondary school. They currently use Easy Fundraising and Your School Lottery and wanted some other ideas for a medium-sized secondary school. It's great that you're already using Easy Fundraising. The other opportunity we would suggest, and again, this would suit any school environment for any PTA that is signed up to Easy Fundraising, is see if the school can also purchase some of their items through Easy Fundraising. If the school are purchasing items online and can go through your Easy Fundraising platform first, then you will also gain donations from the school's purchasing as well. Make sure that as well as promoting Easy Fundraising to parents, that you also promote it to the teachers in the school. Particularly in a secondary school, you will find there's a lot of teachers. If they can get involved and also share the Easy Fundraising with their families, that also may increase your donations. Other ideas you could consider for a medium-sized secondary school: social evenings. Lots of secondary school fundraising is quite often aimed at parents, not necessarily always at the children. So things like quiz nights, again, you could use our big PTA quiz, race nights, or even something like a Christmas shopping event where you encourage local craft stall holders or local businesses to have a stall at your event. You can charge for a pitch fee and then either sell an entry ticket, but also from a PTA you can include refreshments and possibly a raffle on the evening as well. Things that the children might like to get involved with: everybody loves a bake-off. Get the children to make cakes, have a competition, who's got the best cake, and then you could sell those cakes afterwards. What about a ball or a disco? Discos are probably predominantly aimed at the year 7 and 8s within a secondary school, but the balls are quite important, particularly for those that are in GCSE year or A-level year. You could also consider, perhaps when the weather obviously is okay, not necessarily during the winter months, but something like a colour run. If your school has large grounds, this is a great opportunity for the kids to get involved. You're also supporting the PE curriculum by encouraging them to get active and exercise, and it's also a fun opportunity. We do have resources for colour run within the supply directory, and we also have an information sheet on colour run. I'm now going to hand over to Donna and Caroline, who will start to go through the Q&As. And if you do have any questions, please make sure you're popping those in the screen at the bottom of the page.
I can see that Laura's asked about DBS checks. So do all committee members need to be DBS checks? No, they don't, not to be on the committee or trustee. It may depend on your school. They may want them to be DBS to actually go into your school, in which case you could ask the school to get some DBS. And then when you hold your event, just check your risk assessment, and anyone that isn't DBS will need to be paired up so they're not left alone with children. So as I say, some committees actually get their committee members DBS as a norm. Some of them don't, but it's not a legal requirement that they are DBS. And the second one I can see is how do we claim gift aid? We've got a webinar on how to claim gift aid, Claire. Do go along and watch that, but you register with HMRC, you send out a donation form whenever you're doing a sponsored event. You can only claim on items that are a pure donation. If anyone's receiving anything for that donation, then it cannot be claimed. The gift aid cannot be claimed on that. But please do read our information and our webinar, and it will talk you through the whole process. Caroline.
I was saying I'll answer the one about the relationships between PTAs and the school parent teacher. It's from an anonymous attendee, so sorry for not addressing you personally. We, as Parent Kind, currently have something in the works which is called the Blueprint to Parental Engagement. That can be found on our website. That has workshops, and there are webinars for school staff to attend, which allows them to investigate how to engage parents in the school. You can also, as the PTA, obviously not do things for making money. So you might want to have fun days that invite families into the school. Coffee mornings are a great way to have the parents and the teachers meet together. But I would strongly suggest checking out the Blueprint, which is on our website.
Just to cover as well, the Blueprint is in the school section of the website rather than the PTA section. There are some great resources in there, particularly for schools. If your schools aren't necessarily or struggling for parental engagement, there are great training sessions, as Caroline has already mentioned, but there are some PDF guidance resources on there as well that might benefit them.
Can I just jump in on this one as well? Sorry, it's Claire behind the black screen. The question that was asked is, why is the main aim of PTAs to raise money and not improve the parent-teacher-school relationship? It isn't. Traditionally, PTAs do fundraising. However, the objectives of most PTAs are to advance the education of the children in the school and develop effective home-school relationships. And I think, yes, traditionally it is fundraising, and they're also always going to have to do a little bit of fundraising if they want to put on any other type of events. But it is also about building a community within the school. So they don't all have to be fundraising events. Potentially it would cross over as well, because PTAs and schools are legally completely separate entities. So if there are school-related issues, that isn't really the PTA's remit to get involved with. So you might want to think about setting up something like a council, a school council, where the school and the parents actually sit down and talk about the school related issues, but have that as separate to the PTA. You'll probably find it's going to be the same parents, because if those parents want to be involved in a PTA, they are already engaged and they would probably act with the parent council as well. But you do have to remember that school issues and things that happen within the school aren't necessarily part of your PTA's remit. Sorry, I'll go away again now.
I think there's one from Chantal there, which is probably Shula. Shula is our GDPR champion, so I'm going to throw Shula in to that GDPR question.
Can you read the question?
Sorry,
out
you mentioned you send a PTA newsletter out electronically with schools. Oh, it's disappeared. Sorry. With school newsletter, you need parental approval. What does this mean, and how do you achieve it? Thanks, Chantal.
Okay, so if you're sending newsletters out directly from your PTA, as I mentioned previously, if you're sending a paper newsletter out, that can go out, that doesn't get covered by the GDPR regulations. That's absolutely fine to send out, because the person can then choose whether they want to read it or whether they want to get rid of it. If you are sending a newsletter electronically directly from your PTA to a parent, so for example, if your PTA have collected those contact details, then you have to have consent from that parent. That has to be stored by the PTA so that they have agreed that they are happy to receive communications from the PTA electronically. If your newsletter is going out via the school and the school are sending a newsletter out on behalf of the PTA, then the school has to have consent from the parent to be able to share information on behalf of the PTA. Schools quite often have consent forms that are filled out by parents when they first come into the school. That is something you can approach the school about, and make sure that that form has a tick box on it as well, that the parent is happy to receive communications from or about the PTA. You want to keep that consent fairly generic. For example, if you sent a consent out and said, we'd like to hear about information about the PTA summer fair, and the person ticked that box, you could only give them information about the PTA summer fair and nothing else, because they haven't agreed to anything else. If the PTA want to collect their own information and directly contact their parents, we do have within the PTA resources section a PTA reply slip. The PTA reply slip is asking for the parent's name, contact details, and there is a consent box on there to say that they are happy to be contacted by the PTA for any future events. I'd have a look at that form. Again, it's on paper, so it's a great one you can just send out as a paper flyer. It's also a really good one to have at your parents' evenings or any events that you are supporting the school at, where you can just hand that out to parents for them to complete and return to you. This is another situation where it is a really good idea to have a generic PTA email address as well, so that if parents want to contact you directly, they're not having to try and contact 3 or 4 different committee members. They can just contact one central email address. And as Donna mentioned earlier in the administrative tasks, that's really easy to set up. There is also a whole section on GDPR within the Advice Hub. Have a look through there. There are some really good tips and advice in there. Our advice is based on information provided by the ICO, who are the regulatory body for GDPR, and their details are also within our guidelines. You can check out their website, and they have a live chat facility for GDPR questions as well.
There's just a little extra addition to that question from Abigail, which asks if the newsletter's going out via WhatsApp or the class reps, do they need, I assume, do they need GDPR?
For WhatsApp, you shouldn't add anybody to a WhatsApp group without them having first asked to be added to the WhatsApp group. So if you have WhatsApp groups set up for your class, then if you have a class rep, for example, they might approach the parents and say, would you like to be added to the WhatsApp group? I would also have some form of consent form that says, yes, I'm happy to be added to the WhatsApp group. That way you can then share information freely, knowing that everybody has joined that group of their own free will, and they therefore have been given consent to read the information that's on that WhatsApp group. The issue you would have is if you just started adding people without asking them first.
I've got a question here from Sarah, who would like to know, should every event be risk assessed like school discos? And the really easy answer to that is absolutely. The risk assessment covers you and everybody who's attending. It's a really good way to work out with the school what your risks could be. There's a big section on our website, on our PTA section of the website, which does go through risk assessments, what you should include. It also covers any COVID restrictions in there. It's also helpful prior to the school disco or the event to have a walk around where you're going to be holding it, so you can have a look at what any potential risks are going to be.
I think just to add,
yeah, Abigail did ask about the templates. We do have them on the website, as Caroline said, but just remember the risk assessment is a fluid document, so you need to keep checking throughout your event as well. Just don't think, oh, I've done a risk assessment, pop it in the folder, we don't need to do anything. It's a fluid document. You need to keep looking, keep checking, and react as soon as you see something. Make sure it's okay and sorted.
The other thing I was going to add with risk assessments as well, as part of your membership, you have insurance cover that's provided by Zurich Insurance PLC. If you need to make a claim, they are likely to ask you possibly for your risk assessment as well. So it is detailed within the FAQs document that's located in the My Account area, that risk assessments and how important they are, particularly as well if you're using a venue that you're not used to. If you're using a venue that is not the school premises, risk assessments are even more important because you're working in an environment that's completely new to you as well.
Okay, on the chat I can see that someone's asked, we're a small PTA with income less than £5,000, is it still beneficial to become a registered charity? So if you have the Parent Kind Constitution, if you've adopted the Parent Kind Constitution, it's a pre-approved constitution, and the Charity Commission have an agreement with Parent Kind that our members can register under that threshold. The benefits of being charity registered are that it's easier to get gift aid, obviously, because you will have that charity number already. You don't need to be, again, charity registered to get gift aid, but it's easier. You can then go for more grants. There's more grants available if you've got that charity, if you're registered as a charity, and it's for things like match funding as well. That's another benefit. So there are benefits to being charity registered, and it's not that difficult. You just have to send in your return each year and make sure that your trustees are updated. And regardless if you're a registered charity or not, your committee are as legally responsible and accountable for running the association. So don't get scared off by being a trustee. It's the same.
Oh, Donna, there's just one more that's come in about charity registration. Do you want to continue?
Okay, so I'm not sure that we do have a list of companies that do match funding. What you do need is, with match funding, you do need someone working for that company, and usually they have to come to your event and prove that they're helping, and then you can decide what stall. I know with us it was the bottle stall was a great earner at the Fate, so we would always get any match funding on that stall. But sometimes I think Barclays do it, and it's £1,500. So if you've got an employee that goes there, they can prove that they've been at the event and they're helped. But I think I've seen on Facebook somewhere that there is a list floating around, so it's always worth having a look around for that match funding list.
Yeah, we did try and produce a list once, but the companies changed so quickly. We actually got into trouble. I think it was Avon contacted us and said that we were giving out the wrong information. So what we would advise you to do is to ask your volunteers, parents, teachers to speak, or not necessarily the teachers actually, but parents that are working within organisations, go and speak to their HR people. They're usually the ones that deal with it.
Okay, and I can just see there's a observation from Philip saying that many parents are expecting to be able to pay with cash rather than cards rather than cash. I think a lot of PTAs are finding themselves in that situation as well. Obviously, our new membership partner, BOP, can do this, so you won't even need cards. It's a bank-to-bank transfer, which you use your mobile phone for, and we also have a partnership with SumUp for a discount on a card reading machine. Both information about both of those is in our membership bit of the website. Sorry.
Member benefits area.
Member benefits, there you go. I knew I'd forget something.
And Lavinia's just asked, what are the charges for this?
For
Julie?
BOP?
For BOP.
For BOP, there are two options that you can go for. When you sign up for BOP, the first 30 days is free of charge completely. After that, it is either 0.4% per transaction, or you can do a monthly fee, which is £8. These are discounted rates. The normal charge is 0.5 and £10 per month. I would say if you have a large number of transactions, the monthly option may be worth you doing. We anticipate the majority of PTAs will probably go for the standard 0.4% per transaction. The way that BOP works is those fees are amalgamated and an invoice is sent to your PTA monthly for you to pay those fees. I'm sure for many PTAs that have probably done research on different payment providers, some of the card providers charge you 1.4% upwards, plus they charge you a transaction fee of 20 or 30 pence as well. So BOP is a lot lower fees because it's a direct bank-to-bank transfer. If you go to the parent partner offers within the member benefits, have a look at BOP, go through to their actual website. They have really good FAQs and support pages. They also have a live chat facility. You can also book a demo with BOP as well, and one of their team will talk you through the process of registering and how BOP works for you as well. Do we have any more questions, Donna or Caroline?
I can see there's just one more question, but it's quite a personal one. So Angela, if you give us a call or send us an email. We can help you out with your question there. It's you've asked about a external entertainer who still wants full payment. So rather than go over it now, if you give us a call, we can help you.
Yeah, it's quite specific. We'll be able to help you over the phone more because we can find more details out from you. Is that all of the questions?
I think so.
Yes, that's all of the questions, I think, in the chat and the Q&A session. So thank you very much to Shula, Donna and Caroline, especially Shula, because she's got a really bad throat at the minute. So she's soldiered on through. As Shula has already mentioned, there will be a recording of the webinar that will go up on the website fairly shortly, and there will be follow-up emails to this with a link to the recording and to all of the information sheets that Shula has mentioned. So thank you everybody for joining us. And keep an eye out for webinar Wednesdays. We tend to do them on the last Wednesday of every month. The one next month is going to be about BOP, presented by BOP, because obviously they're the best people to talk about their product. But if you ever feel like there's anything missing that you're desperate to know about, please send a message through to the info@ email address, and potentially that could be a subject for another webinar coming up. So thank you, everybody.